Welcome to AI Horror Stories. Prepare to be chilled. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell for daily doses of AI-generated fright. When I was in my early 20s, I moved out of my parents' house with my brother. With a mutual friend, we rented our own two-story house. It was an older-style home with very high ceilings and ornate decorative handrails and doorknobs. It wasn't until after we moved in that we learned that at one point the house was used as a funeral home, and out in the detached garage was where bodies used to be stored and prepared for display. I guess it made sense since there was a small cemetery just behind the house. Though most of the tombs were obscured by the tall grass, we were all big into all those paranormal-type ghost hunting shows. So on one of the first nights we were living there, we went outside and tried to capture EVP on our phones. We would ask questions and play back the recordings to see if we had caught anything. We were disappointed but not surprised. When after about a half hour or so, we gave up not uncovering anything even remotely creepy, but looking back, however, I think we succeeded in getting something's attention. It started slow. Our friend had chronic back problems, so instead of sleeping upstairs, he would sleep on the couch downstairs. Every so often, he would tell us that he heard footsteps or muttering voices coming from the far side of the house. Specifically, the voice of a woman talking in a kind of happy sing-song voice, like she was talking playfully with a small child. After a while, all three of us would begin to feel very uncomfortable downstairs at night. We felt as though something was peering in at us from the darkness outside. We covered all the windows with sheets, and our friend wasn't too happy about sleeping on the ground floor on his own. But me and my brother were not willing to sleep downstairs, and he didn't want to suffer climbing the stairs twice a day. One night we woke up from screaming coming from downstairs. We ran down to the living room to discover our friend wide-eyed up at the ceiling, holding his blanket like he was trying to tear it in two. He said he had woken to the sound of ragged, labored breathing coming from the corner of the room, and when he called out, something shifted in the darkness. We helped him climb up the stairs, and he spent the night on the second floor with us. I personally believe that I had the two most vivid, alarming experiences, even though I didn't tell my roommates about them at the time. There was this one time I was home alone, and I was cleaning up my bedroom and singing along to my tunes. It was broad daylight, and I didn't feel uneasy or nervous at all. Everything seemed normal. I turned around to grab something and exit my room. I froze. Something had just exited my room. I caught the glimpse of a tall figure with long dark hair walking out of the door and turning sideways to walk down the hall. Most of the memory is a blur, but one thing I do distinctly remember was seeing feathers hanging from the back of the figure's head among its hair. I shot out of my room and tore after the figure. I ran downstairs, but there was no one there. I was completely alone and in the house. My second experience happened the day we finally moved out. We had been living in the house for well over a year at this point. My brother had since moved everything out, and I was alone sweeping in the kitchen area. From across the house, I heard a soft thud, like a pile of towels had fallen onto the floor. It made me pause because I knew that there was practically nothing in the house that could have been tipped over. I'm not sure why I decided to do it, but I decided to speak aloud in the empty house around me. We're leaving the house now, so we won't be bothering you anymore. If you have anything to say to me, now is the time. I waited a few seconds, but I got no response, so I said, if you can hear me, show me a sign. I knocked on the counter 3 times, and almost immediately from somewhere down in the basement I heard 3 knocks mimicking my own in the same rhythm. I dropped the broom and power, walked right out the front door, and waited on the front steps until my brother got back to pick me up. I told him that the cleaning was done and there was no reason to step foot in the house again. The one thing I take away from this is that I'm never even going to pretend to mess with the supernatural again. The second story is the devil's bargain. Leave her, you unclean spirit. I condemn you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Leave and go back to hell. I was standing in horror as I watched Father Gabriel perform an exorcist on my wife, Emily. She was screaming and laughing, behaving like a creature from another world. A world where humans don't trade. Her body moved and bent in a horrifying way, and there was nothing I could do to make it all right. She jumped on the bed sitting like a frog and said in a demonic voice, "You really love her, don't you, David? But does she love you?" "I don't think so, because she did enjoy sleeping with your brother when you were out of town." "Shut up, you're lying, you're not my Emily. Leave her body, vermin." I said. Whatever was inside my wife made her look horrifying. Her pupils were small like bisque dots surfing in a pool of blood. There were deep scratches all over her pretty face. A foul smell came from her bony body that hadn't eaten for at least a week. No doubt it is the evil that is keeping her alive. She smiled with her filthy teeth, staring at me, and said, "There's nothing you can do to save her now." Father Gabriel sprinkled holy water on her, while screaming his prayer once again, and Emily lashed out again, making another demonic scream. Every inch of her body that came in contact with the holy water started to burn and release smoke. She screamed and screamed while I prayed to God to make this over. I blame myself for what is happening to my dear wife. If I didn't buy her that evil debit box from the garage sale, everything would be normal in our life. I couldn't help but get lost in those cheerful memories. Even a month back, we were living the life of our dreams, until fate changed it all to a nightmare. Time skipped to a couple months ago. Emily and I came to this town hopeful for a fresh start. We bought a small house, and to cut the cost, we bought secondhand furniture to decorate the house. In a small town like this, it wasn't hard to find reusable stuff. One day we were coming home after buying a beautiful set of wine glasses for a really low price when we saw a garage sale going in our house next door. We hadn't met our neighbors yet, so we thought it would be a better idea to check out the sale and also socialize a bit. A few people were gathered around the front yard of the house, and an old man was sitting on a chair selling various items. We walked close to him, and he looked at us with scanning eyes. Everyone else was also staring at us, and I whispered to my wife, "Welcome to the neighborhood." She laughed at my joke and started to go through the stuff that was on sale. Wooden chairs, coffee tables, kitchen utensils, dinner sets, mirrors, even dressers were in that collection. It looked like someone decided to get rid of all the things they had and run away. Some of the things seemed strikingly new. Emily bought a bunch of clothes and got busy on her shopping spree. I couldn't hold back my curiosity and asked the man, "So you guys are shifting elsewhere, it seems?" The old man gave me a blank stare and said, "I am just the caretaker of this house. The family who lived here faced a tragic incident. The wife who lived here committed suicide after a long-term illness, and the husband left the next day, leaving all this stuff. Before the new tenants come, I have to get rid of all these." He spoke in an annoyed tone, like he really wanted to get done with these leftover. I had no idea our neighbors next door went through such a traumatic phase. I was going to ask what happened to the wife when I heard Emily's voice. "Wow, this is such a pretty jewelry box." I turned towards her and saw she was holding a small wooden box with an intricate design on its lid. It seemed quite expensive to me because I've seen many boxes like this in antique shops that were worth a lot of money. I looked at the old man and said, "How much is it?" He said in a hesitant voice, "You really want that?" Emily nodded her head yes. He looked at the box and said, "Pay whatever you want." I got a bit suspicious because I was expecting him to ask for a fixed price for such a crafted piece. Emily sighed, "We will give you $10. And surprisingly, the man accepted the deal right away. Emily bought clothes and jewelry too. We came home and I couldn't shake off the thought of why that man gave us the antique box at such a low cost. Emily rushed to the bedroom and sat in front of the mirror. I knew then that she would put all her jewelry inside the box and pretend like she was a royal queen. I liked this little joy of hers, but as she tried to open the box, we found the real catch. Know how hard or how much strength we put in it, we couldn't open it. What an idiot I am. I should have checked it before buying it. Now I understand why the old man agreed to sell it at $10. "Damn it," she said. "We can use a knife to try and pry it." I said, "No, that'll ruin the craft. Let it be. We'll find another way to open it." Saying this, Emily kept the box on her dressing table and we got busy with our chores. Time went by and I started noticing changes in Emily's behavior. She would wake up in the middle of the night and sit in front of the mirror staring at the box. It was like she went into a trance. It got me worried cause she stopped talking much and all of her attention revolved around the box. One afternoon I came home from work to pick up an important file. I walked straight into the bedroom in a hurry. I saw Emily sitting on the bed eating something from the box. The lid was surprisingly open. "Oh, so you finally opened the box." Saying this, I was about to step closer to her when she turned back. I could see her mouth was smeared in blood and her eyes were all white. She giggled and fainted on the floor. The box fell on the floor from her hand, and I found some pretty bizarre stuff inside. There were dried fingernails, blood-filled leeches, strands of dirty hair, and a creepy doll, more like a human figurine made with tattered clothes. There were pins sticking out of it. It made me vomit realizing my wife was eating those leeches, and that was the beginning of this nightmare. I took her to multiple doctors, and when they couldn't help us anymore, I turned to God. The priest of our local church, Father Gabriel, came to my house and told me that a demonic spirit had latched itself onto my wife. The box wasn't just some pretty jewelry box. In fact, it was an endemic box used in some ritualistic sacrifice. Whatever was inside that box, my wife set it free, and now it wants her soul. Father Gabriel suggested that the only way out of this was an exorcism. Back to the present. I don't want to end up like our next-door neighbor. Now I know that the neighbor's wife must have faced the same fate which Emily's going through right now. Emily screamed as Father Gabriel went on with his chant. Our house started to shake, but the exorcism couldn't be stopped. Emily started biting herself vigorously, and it was horrifying to watch my jolly sweet wife tearing off her own flesh like an hungry wolf. I couldn't stand the sight anymore, so I screamed, "Whoever you are, just leave my wife alone. Leave her for God's sake." The demon replied with, "You do love your wife, don't you? You've watched her smile, now you will watch her die. I will eat her heart." Father Gabriel sprinkled the holy water once again and said, "Give me your enamel." It replied with, "No, I want." The more Father Gabriel asked for the demon's name, the more it hurted Emily. "Please, Father, do something, it'll kill her, please," I cried. What Father Gabriel did next shocked the hell out of me. He jumped on the bed, grabbed Emily by her shoulders and screamed, "You need one soul. You take mine, let this poor child go, you let her go." Just then Emily's mouth opened wide and she vomited black smug into Father Gabriel's face. After releasing it all, Emily's unconscious body fell on the bed and I saw Father Gabriel's eyes turning around, revealing the white part, just like it happened to Emily, but he didn't stop there. He ran to the kitchen and picked up our kitchen knife, yelling, "In the name of Christ, I condemn you back to hell," and stabbed himself in the stomach again and again until his lifeless body fell on the floor. The fact that Father Gabriel sacrificed his own life to save my wife will always be a painful fact to me. Now we have no other choice than to run away before anyone else finds Father Gabriel dead in our house. I know the cops will never believe us. I can't risk our life once again, as it will be a complete waste of Father Gabriel's huge sacrifice. I burnt the box before leaving the house. Emily is still lying unconscious in the back seat of my car. God knows what's waiting for us now.